Um, yeah, so let's talk a bit about CalABLE. CalABLE is a state program. So like she mentioned, I am in the treasurer's office. I'm a state employee. This is not a business venture. This is a real state program. Um, and this it's a savings and investment program for people with disabilities. So it helps people be able to save, plan for the future, just like I mentioned, and be able to protect their eligibility for benefits, which is a huge component of the program. Before I get too much into it, let me quickly just say who can have an account. So who is eligible? So there's two main things to keep in mind. So one is the individual has to have an eligible disability. If they receive SSI or SSDI, that's the easiest way to tell. That you already know that they have an eligible disability. However, they don't have to receive SSI or SSDI. So like I don't receive either, but I can still have my own CalABLE accounts because I can self-certify. So we have some more information on our website. Folks can always reach out to us if they have questions. But basically, there's a laundry list of diagnoses that people can look through and just verify, yes, they have an eligible diagnosis. Um, the second thing to keep in mind. So one is the diagnosis eligible. Um, the second thing to keep in mind is when did the disability begin? So as of today, the disability had to have begun before the age of 26. So it doesn't matter how old they are today, just depends when the disability began. Um, but that's going to be expanding, and we expect this to have a really big impact for people with behavioral health diagnoses in particular. That's going to be expanding to the age of 46 next year. So again, today, disability started before the age of 26. Next year, disability starting before the age of 46. It's just an expansion, so it doesn't affect anything for anyone who's already eligible today. So things that are not requirements, so they don't have to be a U.S. citizen. They need to have a social security number or a tax ID. As long as they have one of those two, they'd be fine. They don't have to be a California resident. And again, they don't have to receive benefits. I don't receive any public benefits, but I can still have an account. Just matters that they have an eligible disability. And Teresa, are you trying to say something? Because you muted.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify for everybody that mental illness is considered a disability. I mean, I think
Mhm.
sometimes people with mental illness don't realize that. So just wanted to make sure people were aware.
Yes, thank you. And on that note, so the diagnoses that we pull from for our program, it's all federal in nature, and it pulls from Social Security's diagnoses. So as you probably know, you can get SSI or SSDI or other benefits because of a mental health diagnosis. So there's a laundry list of mental health related diagnoses that are in there, just as there are plenty of physical health diagnoses, for example. So definitely encourage people to take a look. And again, we'd be happy to answer any questions. But I really see this expansion from age 26 to 46 uh, as really helping us be able to reach out to people with mental health illnesses in particular, because we know a lot of those have later onset. Right now, age 0 to 26, the bulk of our account holders have a developmental disability from birth, something like that. But as it expands, it's really going to grow into much broader portion of the disability population, and again, in particular, those with a mental behavioral health diagnosis. That's who can have an account. Why would you want to have an account? I think it's probably the more important thing, right? There's a couple of things to keep in mind. So some of the key benefits for CalABLE. One is that it protects eligibility for benefits. I'll get into in a bit. Two is that it allows for tax-free growth. Um, Again, I'll get to that a bit. And three, it's really easy to use. It's easy to open. It's easy to use. It's easy to spend and access. There's no penalties for spending. Um, you may be familiar with special needs trusts. This is a much cheaper and easier option than a special needs trust. You don't need a lawyer. You just go online and do it. You don't have to pay thousands of dollars to get a lawyer to create one for you. you just go online. And so I'll get into that in a bit more detail, but again, it's really easy for it's accessible. It's meant for anyone to be able to access it as long as they have an eligible diagnosis. And so I mentioned protecting benefits. So I'm sure a lot of folks in the room already are familiar, but uh, SSI benefits in particular, that's the biggest disability benefit. You know, when people think about getting disability benefit, that's probably the first one that comes to mind, even if they don't know the name of it. More than a million Californians get SSI benefits right now. But SSI has a huge limitation, which is you can't have more than $2,000 and get SSI payments. So if you have more than $2,000, you can be cut off. It can affect your eligibility, um, which means that people diagnosed with disabilities, if they want to get benefits like SSI, generally they just have to be completely broke. They can't have any money, they can't have any savings, they can't plan for any major expenses. And generally they have to rely on someone else. Even if they could otherwise be largely independent, they have to rely on someone else for financial security. Um, and so me as a parent, I'm trying to plan for my kids and when they're adults, and at least one, if not both of them, will be on SSI and other benefits as an adult. And when my oldest son was diagnosed, the advice we got at the time, which was the accurate advice at the time, because this was before CalABLE, was make sure you don't save any money in his name. If you do, he won't get benefits as an adult, and you're just going to be shooting yourself in the foot. um, which is obviously a terrible thing to hear as a parent. It's terrible to hear, as a person with a disability. But that's where CalABLE comes in. So with CalABLE, you can save in a CalABLE account up to $100,000 and keep SSI benefits coming in. So again, this is the easiest and most accessible way for people with disabilities and or their families to be able to save and plan for the future and keep benefits intact. So CalABLE is exempt from the standard limits for all local, state, or federal benefits programs that have an asset limit of some sort. So for SSI, again, it's up to $100,000. For every other benefit program, they can have up to $529,000 and keep their benefits intact. So that means CalFresh food stamps, Section 8 housing choice vouchers. Starting next year, Medi-Cal is going to have an asset limit, as I'm sure plenty of people are aware, of $130,000. CalABLE is exempt from those standard limits. And CalABLE is also exempt from Medi-Cal estate recovery. And for those who are familiar with that, you know that that is an extremely, debate generally it wipes out someone's entire estate. So that's really what makes this so important. It helps people with disabilities be able to save and plan and be as independent as they can be. Independence looks like different things for different people. It's going to look like different things for each of my kids. Um, but really the goal is to help them get to where they need to be. Um, so a bit about some of the mechanics on how it works. So I mentioned already you can have $100,000 saved and keep SSI benefits intact. Um, if you're not trying to protect SSI benefits, then the maximum limit is 529,000. Um, and but the other number to keep in mind is the annual limit. So you can, for this calendar year, you can contribute up to $19,000 into a CalABLE account. Um, and that's going to expand to $20,000 next year. Um, so again, $19,000 this year. Over multiple years, you can get to 100,000. Over multiple years, you can get to $529,000. I'm a state worker. I don't know how realistic 529,000 is, but maybe someday. And so the other thing to keep in mind is if someone is working, and they and their employer don't contribute to a retirement plan, they can save an additional amount. It's up to $34,060. It's very limited though, because most people who are working, they or their employer does pay into a retirement. But for any of those exceptions, they could save a greater amount each year. And there's a bit more information on our website. And then so that's how much you could put in. So then what happens with the money when it's in it? So we have a range of investment options to pick and choose from. For anyone familiar with ScholarShare or the college savings plan or like a Roth IRA, something like that, you're probably familiar that you'll have a range of investment options you can pick and choose from. It looks kind of similar to that, although we do have one option. We have one option that is more like a savings account with an interest rate. It's FDIC insured, and then the others are based on stocks and bonds, that sort of stuff. Um, but what makes it a little different from things like a Roth IRA or some other retirement plan is you can access it whenever you need to. So we have a lot of account holders who are using it for day-to-day spending. Others like me, I'm just saving for the long term, like as another retirement plan. But I also know that I can access it if there was ever an emergency or I just needed money for something. Um, Anyone can also give money into a CalABLE account, and it doesn't count as income for tax or benefits purposes. So typically, if someone receives certain benefits like SSI, if someone tries to help them pay rent, generally that'll count against them as a resource. It'll count as income. But if they put money into CalABLE, it's exempt from that. And so it's just really easy to do for people to be able to give money into someone's account. And so we do have fees, but we're a state program, so we try to keep them as low as we can. Our fee is $30 per year and a small percentage of the money they put into the different, which varies based on the investment options. And what makes this great for long-term savings is CalABLE is exempt from state or federal taxes. Any earnings within the account from the different investment options, that's all tax-free. So it just helps grow for the long term. So, so you put the money in, you pick the different investment options. What can you actually use it for? The answer is a lot of things. The rule here at the top of the screen is it needs to be used for to maintain or improve the health, independence, or quality of life of the person with the disability. So as long as the expense benefits them, it's almost certainly going to be fine. It can also have a side benefit for someone else too. That's okay. As long as it benefits the person with disability, that's what matters. So um, they can use it for healthcare, transportation, housing, um, groceries, anything that's going to make their life better. Really is the standard. So, it's meant to be very broad. It's meant so that people can actually use it and actually live. So as long as they're not giving the money away or explicitly buying something that is solely for someone else, generally it's going to be an appropriate expense. And so actually using the account. So we try to make it as easy and accessible as possible. We have a mobile app that you can download and manage your money that way. Um, you can transfer money to like a bank account if you're trying to spend it. So you can have a check made and mailed to you. But the easiest thing to use is our prepaid card. So we have a prepaid Visa card that's attached to the account, and you load up however much money you want to load up on it. And however much money you want to put it, you just go use it. It's a Visa card. You use it wherever you want to use a Visa card. So you can use it online, you can use it in stores, whatever you need to. Um, and as example of how beneficial that is, so on the screen is Adrienne and her sister. Adrienne's one of our account holders. Her sister has several behavioral health diagnoses, and she is somewhat independent, but she does need a little bit of support, especially specifically with like managing money. But Adrienne and her sister both have a card attached to her sister's account. Her sister can go to the store, she can buy whatever she needs to buy, um, but Adrienne can still put some safeguards on it. She can set how much. Not only is she deciding how much money's on the card, she can set limits on how much can be spent in a day. Are there certain types of stores you can use it at? That sort of thing. And again, what's great about it is it helps her sister be more independent, while still making sure that because she needs the extra support, that there is a safety net there for her. Um, So, again, it's meant to be easy to use. It's meant for people to access it when they need to access it. There's no penalties, anything like that. So whether someone's saving for the short term, is trying to spend, sorry, saving for the long term, is trying to spend in the short term, so mix the two. Either way, CalABLE can help them along with that. And quickly, how can you open an account? So hopefully, folks are wondering this. It's like I mentioned before, it's not too bad. It's pretty easy. This is our website here, calable.ca.gov. There's a gold button that says open an account. You just click on that and you go through the steps. It's not that different from opening like a bank account or something. There's a little bit more information you would need on the diagnosis, but we don't need records. We just need someone to state their eligibility. Um, and so some things to keep in mind. So the money always belongs to the person with the disability. So it is their money. For me, that's really important. This isn't money held by someone else for them. It is their money, even if someone is helping manage them. And again, someone can help them manage it. Someone can open it on their behalf, or they can open it on their own. I have my own account. I open my own account. My kids each have their own account. Obviously, they're kids. I'm running their account. When they're adults, um, uh, one of them, I'll probably be able to give him the account as an adult, um, which is great. And the other one I'll probably continue managing, which is fine too. And speaking of accessibility, oh, I have to update the slide. We have 20 languages that you can open the account in. Spanish, Russian, Korean, Chinese, Japanese, Tagalog, Polish, Portuguese, French. I don't remember. There's some other ones. So it is very accessible. It's meant to be accessible. We're hoping to add even more languages, but we want people to be able to use it. And then last two things before I wrap up. So if folks have need any assistance, we have a call center. They can call 833 CalABLE. We support 240 languages. People can also sign up for our emails and newsletters. We have a monthly webinar, for example. Yesterday, sorry, 2 days ago, I forget when, we had a webinar specifically on workers, how CalABLE benefits workers, some things to think about. So we have a different topic every month to help people know more about the program. And then lastly, um, we would like to partner with folks. We're trying to expand our footprint, trying to let more people know about the program, and also work with more organizations about it. So if we can work with anyone there to do presentations, either for your staff or for the public, to collaborate on social media outreach or newsletters, anything like that, please let us know. Our email address is calable@treasurer.ce.gov. We would be happy to work with you. And with that, that's all I got. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Thomas. Really appreciate it. Do we have questions in the room?
Hi, I have one question. Is I came in kind of late, so did you mention something about direct deposits
Yeah,
into
so
the
you
account?
can. So I didn't mention it, but yeah, you can direct deposit into the account. That's particularly popular for people who receive SSI benefits or SSDI benefits. You can direct deposit into the account. You can do it from an employer as well. Those are options. Or you can also do recurring transfers every month. For example, you could transfer some money from a bank account into it, or you can do one-time transfers. Really, whatever's going to be best for that person.
Yeah, over here in just a moment.
I have a question because you mentioned investments. So is it a wide range of investments where you get counseling on safe investments or slow growing long-term investments and high risk investments? And let's say hypothetically, we have someone that enters the White House and makes questionable decisions and that affects the investments, just
Mhm.
hypothetically speaking.
Mhm.
Will that affect your account?
Sure, yeah. So we do have a broad range of investment options. So from, more conservative to more aggressive, risky, whatever word you want to use. So they are tied to the market, right? So it does mean depending on the performance of the market, it can go up and down. But again, one of the options, which is more popular for like, for example, SSI recipients or lower income folks, is one of them is a FDIC insured savings account like portfolio. So it's not directly tied to the markets. There's an interest rate. Obviously, the interest rate can change, but it's not like tied to a stock where it can go up and down and that sort of thing. So that is something that while we can't provide financial advice directly, we do have some information on our website. I can just say that is the more common thing for lower income folks or folks who are more worried about stability as opposed to
Thank-
long-term growth.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
All right, and then we have,
2 questions, 1 year.
a couple more in the room and online. Go ahead online.
Hi, I just have a clarifying question. Did you say that distributions are not considered income, and so that means we don't need to report it to the IRS?
So all the money that goes into the account is after tax. It's post-tax money. Um, so contributions into the account, which includes gifts from other people, don't have to be reported. Um, but it is already post-tax, right? And then distributions coming out of the account, yeah, those don't count as income. It doesn't count as resources. Um, they would, however, so for example, for SSI specifically, that $2,000 limit that is typical, that's the standard individual limit for a person with SSI benefits. That still applies to everything outside of CalABLE. So if I have a CalABLE account, I can have up to $100,000 in my CalABLE account. But if I have a separate bank account, I still have to worry about that $2,000 limit. So you wouldn't want to take $3,000 out of CalABLE and then put it into a bank account because that could affect eligibility. There is one very specific scenario that also comes up, which is only for someone who's receiving SSI and only if they're using it for housing related expenses. They have to, if they're withdrawing from CalABLE, say into like a bank account, they have to spend it in the same calendar month that they withdraw it from the CalABLE account. I don't know why, but that's the rule. But again, it's only for SSI recipients and only for housing related expenses. Otherwise, there's no real limits like that. It's just people can do what they need to do. Mhm.
I have a question regarding the fees. You said it was 30 a month
Mhm.
and then a small percentage of invested assets. Is there a range? Can you speak a little bit more about that additional?
Sure, yeah. It's to be clear, it's about $2.50 a month. It's $30 per year. Um, and then which is a big difference. Yeah, so it's $30 per year. And then it's like a percentage of the different investment options. So by way of example of what we'd be talking about, if someone has $3,000 in their account, then depending on which portfolio they have, the fee would vary a little bit based on the individual's portfolios. Um, but the fees they can expect, including the $30 per year, would be roughly $45. But again, it kind of varies. But again, that doesn't count any earnings that they would have in the account, which would also be tax-free, which helps offset the fees.
All right.
So I have a
Maria,
oh.
online. Maria? All right, let's go in the room. I think Christine.
Yeah, so someone has an investment account and like they're really successful in their investments, they have to spend anything so they don't go over that 100,000. Is that
Right, yeah, if they're over the 100,000, that would be subject to the standard SSI limits, right? So if it's an individual, that $2,000 limit, if they're over 100,000, then anything over 100,000 would start to count towards that 2,000. So yeah, so if they were to get up that high, well, that'd be great. It's great that they can save. but they'd want to spend down to stay below 100,000. But that assumes they're receiving SSI and it assumes that they wouldn't be able to move off of SSI. So
So
like I
does
met someone, go ahead.
spending from that account doesn't count into your 2,000 at all? It's just like, if it's not like transferred into that account, if you just spend directly from your account, that doesn't count against you for SSI?
Right, yeah. Or, so for example, let's say you have another bank account and you wanted to transfer money over there. You'd be fine as long as you kept it below $2,000 in that separate account, right? So you can put, $1,800 or something and use that for spending. That would be fine too. You just want to make sure you don't go over 2,000 elsewhere.
Stacy from LA County.
Yes, hi, thank you very much. This is great information. I have instead the other kind of account that you mentioned, a
Special needs trust?
disability. Yes.
Hmm.
So I have a couple of questions. You mentioned that one of your children, you could just turn the money over and you think that they'll be able to manage that money by themselves, but another one you might need to stay involved. So for those parents like myself who aren't, who are older and aren't going to be around to be managing money that much longer, how would that be something that I would need to take care of in my will or trust, that I assign someone to take over that responsibility? And would my child then have to agree to the person who is going to take over that responsibility?
Hmm. So a couple things. Yeah, I would recommend like having someone identified who would take it over. Um, we are working on a way to try to pre-designate someone within our system right now, but there's some legal things we're kind of working through at the federal level. Um, but regardless, yeah, I would recommend having someone. But that'd be no different from like the special needs trust. You want to already know who is going to be next, right? So you'd want to make sure you think about who that would be. The so let's say that happens and now someone else has to take it over. Um, the person who can take it over, it is very broad who can do it. If someone has power of attorney or conservatorship, something like that, then they're obviously going to be the person to do it. Um, but you don't need one of those in order to take over and manage someone's account. You can be a parent, you can be a sibling, you can just be someone they want. It can really be anyone. The person who does it just simply has to certify, yes, I'm the best person to take this over. They self-certify it under penalty of, whatever. Um, if the person with the disability, and so that's where it gets a little tricky. If the person with disability has the ability to, make decisions,
Mhm.
then they could remove the representative off of the account. It's not really common, but they could, right? Um,
Sure, yeah,
they
absolutely.
have that
Especially
right.
when you have people with mood disorders, for example, who may decide to spend all of it in 1 week. And then
Mhm.
the other question I have is, in terms of the gifting. So right now, there are limits on how much someone can gift to another person in a year. Is that limit lifted in this case?
So you can contribute $19,000 in the calendar year
Mhm.
total, and that's regardless of what the source is. So if like for my own account, I could put in 19,000,
Mhm.
or I can put in 10 and someone could give me 9,000 if they were extremely generous, which would be great.
Mhm.
So it doesn't matter where the source is, that $19,000 is just the universal cap.
Right, okay, thank you. Thank you
Sure.
so much. This is great information. I had no idea that this existed. For how long has it existed?
So end of 2018 is when it opened, but really it's been the last few years where we've really been ramping up. And then with the expansion of eligibility next year, that's where we're trying to do, we're trying to move away from, we've been doing a lot of work with like the regional centers, for example, but we're really trying to expand out and look at more than just, developmental diagnoses.
Thank you.